From telephones made out of cats to toothpaste made out of mouse brains, here are 15 scary facts that shouldn't be true, but are. There are roughly 200 dead bodies on Mount Everest right now. In recent history, over 300 climbers have met a grisly fate atop Mount Everest, and most of them remain on the mountain. There are good reasons for leaving the bodies up there, however. Some are in places that are simply too dangerous to attempt retrieval, and any bodies higher than 21,000 feet can't be reached by helicopter. There is a tradition among climbers that if they perish on the mountain, they prefer their body to stay there in their frozen tomb, much like sailors lost at sea. You have tiny mites living in your eyelashes. Don't worry, they're harmless and everyone has them. Known as Demodex, they have 4 pairs of legs that make it easy to grip the lashes. They're see-through and 1/3 of a millimeter long and act as a cleaning system, eating dead skin cells and oil. Having too many mites can cause irritation, but obviously they aren't the only things that can irritate your eyes, so if you suspect mites could be the source of your irritation, see a doctor to have them take a look under a microscope. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland once used real skeletons as props. When the ride was first built in the 1960s, Disney's Imagineers thought the prop skeletons looked too fake, so they reached out to UCLA's anatomy department and got real skeletons to replace them with. As fake skeleton technology improved, the skeletons were eventually replaced with props once again, and the real skeletons were returned to their home countries and given proper burials. Chainsaws were invented for childbirth. Even today, childbirth can be complicated and painful, but we've come a long way in terms of technology to help ease the process. In 1780, 2 Scottish doctors developed the chainsaw to help perform C-sections more quickly. The design of the chainsaw was based on a watch chain with teeth that moved through the use of a hand crank. So while the mother may not have looked down to see her doctor holding a gas-powered chainsaw like we're familiar with today, she would instead see her doctor furiously cranking a chainsaw against her vulva. A chicken once lived for 18 months after its head was cut off. In Colorado in 1945, a farmer was sent by his wife to their chicken coop to retrieve a chicken that they could eat for dinner. The farmer selected a 5-month-old chicken named Mike. He used his axe to decapitate Mike, and while he removed most of the head, he missed the jugular vein and Mike continued to balance and walk around clumsily. The farmer then decided to care for Mike instead of putting him out of his misery, and they soon began touring around the country alongside other sideshow acts, such as a 2-headed baby. In March 1947, Mike got a kernel of corn stuck in his throat and choked to death in a motel in Phoenix, Arizona. There's a real mental disorder in which someone believes they are dead. Cotard syndrome is a rare disorder in which a person believes they are either dead, do not exist, or have lost their organs. The person could even see themselves in a mirror and place no association between the face and their own sense of self. A person with this disorder might even stop talking altogether. Antidepressants and mood stabilizers have been found to be successful in treatment. However, sometimes the patient might need electroconvulsive therapy to be treated of this condition. Refrigerators are magnetic because children used to die inside them. Children like to find the strangest places to hide, and when fridges were first invented, they quickly became popular hiding places. The problem was, with early models of refrigerators, the door could only be opened by a latch from the outside, so children could easily become trapped inside if the door closed. There was also an airtight rubber seal on the door, which made it much harder for their parents to hear them calling for help. Many children suffocated because of this, so in 1956 the Refrigerator Safety Act was passed, which required household refrigerators to have a device that allowed them to be opened from the inside. Once you begin to show rabies symptoms, there is no treatment. You just have to wait to die. Rabies mortality rate is 99.9%, which is the highest mortality rate for a disease. The reason the infection can't be cured or treated is because during the infection, the blood-brain barrier locks down, meaning nothing can get through, even antiviral drugs. Only about 8 to 10 people have ever survived rabies who weren't vaccinated beforehand. One of the later symptoms of rabies is fear of water. You will be thirsty, but your body will spasm and reject the water completely. Since the 1950s, 6 nuclear weapons have been lost and never recovered. 1 is in the Mediterranean Sea, 2 are in the Pacific Ocean, 2 are in the Atlantic Ocean, and 1 is lost on land in North Carolina, which funny enough is actually in my hometown. In 1961, a B-52 carrying 2 atomic bombs crashed in Goldsboro, North Carolina. One of the bombs deployed a parachute and landed safely in a tree. The other bomb, which was partially armed, landed in a field. The only reason it didn't detonate was because of an unclosed high-voltage switch that prevented it from fully arming. Due to immense ground flooding, the bomb was never able to be safely retrieved. The Army has since placed a 400-foot diameter circular easement over the buried bomb, which is clearly visible on Google Earth, now overgrown by trees. The ancient Romans crushed up mouse brains and used them as toothpaste. The Romans enjoyed good dental hygiene. They had a very strange recipe for their toothpaste, however, which consisted of ashes head of hair, donkey teeth, mixed with extracts of mouse brain. Some Romans also chose to wash their teeth with powdered deer antler and would gargle undiluted human urine imported from Portugal, where pee was believed to contain more ammonia. Anything for those pearly whites, am I right? When a male lion takes over a pride, he executes all the cubs. At about 2 years old, male lions are kicked out of their original pride and must try to take over a new pride. Each pride can have up to 3 adult males. When the new males take over, they kill all of the cubs since they have no biological relation to these cubs and do not want to allow other lions' genes to be passed on. This helps with procreation as well, since female lions are not susceptible to mating while they are nursing. Female lions attempt to protect their cubs, but are typically unsuccessful except in the case of older cubs who are already close to leaving the pride anyway. Doctors didn't realize newborns could feel pain until the mid-1980s. Doctors had long believed that newborns were such primitive organisms that they didn't have the capacity to feel pain. This seems like it would be an ancient belief, but anesthesia wasn't widely used on newborns until the 1980s. Doctors feared that anesthesia would kill newborns, so they would often just administer a drug that would temporarily paralyze the baby's muscles to prevent thrashing, but not actually numb the pain. Due to improving technology over the years and research that concluded that newborns did in fact feel pain, doctors began to finally use the anesthetics to numb pain during procedures. Researchers once turned a live cat into a telephone. In 1929, scientists at Princeton University wanted to test how the auditory nerve perceives sound. They sedated the cat and then cut out a small part of its brain, then attached one end of a telephone wire to its auditory nerve and the other end to a receiver. When one of the scientists talked into the cat's ears, another scientist was able to hear him through the receiver in a soundproof room, so the experiment was ultimately a success, though obviously unethical. The cat actually survived the experiment, but unfortunately the scientists killed the cat to see if the experiment would also be successful on a dead cat. It wasn't. Rattlesnakes are evolving to hide their rattle. The telltale sign of a rattlesnake being nearby is hearing that iconic rattle. That's how you know you're in the danger zone. However, rattlesnakes are starting to evolve to where they no longer rattle at all. Most people think it's a genetic mutation in order to increase their chances of survival. Some rattlesnakes had a mutation where their rattle didn't work correctly, and those without the rattles seemed to survive longer, which led to more of those rattlesnakes reproducing. If this continues over time, rattlesnakes will evolve to where they no longer rattle at all. Mummies are rare today because Europeans used to eat them. Mummies had been used for medicinal reasons for centuries. Europeans believed mummia, the product created from mummified bodies, could treat headaches, reduce swelling, and even cure the plague. Doctors claimed mummia was made from pharaohs, so European royals often ate them for dinner, believing it was good practice for royalty to eat royalty. That's all for today. Thank you for tuning into another video. Please feel free to voluntarily commit yourself to Asinine Asylum by hitting that like and subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you can be first in line for more true and fascinating horror stories like this. It's farewell for now, my patients, and I'll see you in the next video.